Hey everybody, J.Kustoms here. I got another project I'm working on. This is a 1977 Super Camper Special. It's two-wheel drive with the 460 C6 automatic, Dana 70 rear axle, air conditioning, and I'm going to be doing a lot of work to this. Starting with the suspension, the chassis, motor. One of the weird differences of the Super Camper Special compared to the Camper Special is the wheel well in the box is back a few more inches and the axle is back further. The box isn't longer, it's just wheelbase is stretched a little longer. And then this thing opens up and there's a spare tire behind here. I'm no longer going to have this tire in there anymore, and I'm going to make it so it's a functioning cooler. So the first couple things I'm going to do is disassemble this, get the cab, the body off the chassis. I have Super Duty axles I'm putting under here, suspension parts from PMF Suspension. I got a ZF 5-speed I'm going to put in here to this 460. I got a bigger cam, headers, rebuild the motor. Also going to do a hydraulic clutch with the ZF 5-speed. And I'll be doing the Hydro Boost for the powered brakes. And the plan is to have the AC working as well. So I'm going to start by lifting the cab off, taking the body apart so I can custom fit the axles, the new power steering gearbox, to get the drive line and suspension set. And then after I get all that done, send the chassis out for blast and paint, and then disassemble the motor, rebuild that, clean it up, and then hopefully get this thing slapped together and drive it this summer. So I'm going to get started. Another really cool thing about this project is I can use the standard side of my toolbox versus the Metro. It's going to throw me for a loop. I'll be confused. Alright, I got a lot of this tore apart. I'm going to start pulling some measurements, making some plans, figure out how I'm going to mount my Super Duty power steering gearbox here. I got to get rid of these buckets. I'm going to go with PMF suspension buckets. Get rid of these cross members, get rid of this cross member, bolt the ZF 5-speed to it, build a new cross member, ditch this tank. Not using this tank anymore because I have this. This is a fuel cell. This is what I'm going to use for fuel tank. After I get the transmission bolted in, make my cross member, cut the floor out of the cab, put a removable pan in here. That way I can line up for the boot, come through for the shifter. Get this power steering off of here. Fit my headers on here from L&L, make sure it clears everything. Then yeah, so it's a lot of work to do for now. So I'm going to be busy. Alrighty, I got a lot of this tore down. Now I can start fabricating on the chassis. I got the cab on my cab roller cart. I'll pretty much be cutting this section of the cab apart, modifying this part, and putting a big plate in here in this area to mount the Hydro Boost and the hydraulic clutch, and modifying the steering column to adapt to a Super Duty linkage. Also rip the dash out to modify the inside as well, because I'll have to add another pedal, modify the brake pedal to work with the Hydro Boost. As far as the chassis, I got a lot of this stuff torched apart, all the rivets, so I'll be taking the old buckets off, I'll be taking the transmission off, I'm going to take the exhaust manifolds off so I can fit my L&L headers, make sure they clear everything. And then I'll be bolting the 205 T-case to the ZF speed. I'll be getting rid of the independent two-wheel drive suspension as well, getting rid of the old radius arm brackets, and then building new radius arm brackets. I'll be getting rid of this axle, so I'll be putting these Super Duty axles in it from a 2006 Super Duty. So I got a lot of work ahead of me. So I'm gonna get to work. Alrighty, I got a lot of this mocked up. Everything's on some sawhorses, leveled out. Got the old cross members out. I got a plan for radius arm brackets. Possibly build that in with the cross member for the transmission, because that's going to be about here. And the radius arm brackets here. The bolt hole is going to be aligned with this mark. That gives us our measurement to here. Everything's going to be dialed in on that part. This is the ZF speed I'm using. I rebuilt that. Now I'm modifying the flange to fit the 205 T-case, because the shifter linkage has to go through the flange. And then I'll cut this off. I'll cut all this at an angle. I'll still be able to use this part here for my shifter. So I'm going to modify that, bolt the T-case to it, bolt it to the motor, mock up where the cross member is going to be and how everything's going to sit, so I can get this thing dialed in. Alrighty, this is all mocked up. My headers fit, they clear everything. It's going to work out pretty good. And as far as the transmission, after I get the brackets made for the radius arms, I'll move to the cross member for the transmission and go from there. Alrighty, I modified the frame here. Got this cut up, made this plate with some spacers to mount the steering gearbox off the Super Duty, and that fits in there like so. Then I'll weld this all up, then I'll take this off. I welded this on temporarily to strengthen the frame horn because it was open cut top and bottom here. I held it in line, weld this up, cut that off, but first I'm going to mock this back down to ride height and make a bracket to hold my track bar somewhere in here. Then I'll have to work on the radius arm brackets. Alrighty, I got the track bar mount mocked up. Everything's tacked together for now. Now I'm going to take it apart. I'm going to make a brace to go from here all the way to the cross member. That way none of this is going to break apart. And call it DUN. Alrighty, I got the gearbox mounted, so that part is done. This is a Super Duty gearbox out of the 06. I made a gusset and I bolted it here with some spacers behind it. 3 bolts. It comes around and welded to this plate here. It's going to clear the headers and everything once it's hooked up. I'll have to cut this guy off. But yeah, everything is going to clear. Now I'm started on making radius arm brackets to come off the frame. Alright, I got the axle kind of bolted in. Everything's mocked up where I want it. Got my flanges from Tom Woods to use the Super Duty drive shafts to the 205T case. Now I'm mocking up a cross member. This is what I have so far. I'm going to tack this up, get this underneath there, and figure out a way to mount it so it's removable if I have to pull the trans. So far, so good. I think I like it. Okay, I got the rear axle kind of set in here. I had to cut the perches off, and then underneath the perches there is rust, so I had to build the weld back up and grind that smooth. I can get these set. Got my width set, it's marked. Put my blocks in there, tighten the U-bolts down, get my angle set for my drive shaft, pull a measurement, get that ordered. I also got my spring buckets, those showed up from PMF suspension. Them are nice. And I can start fabbing them on. Alright, I got the everything kind of set. Now I'm just waiting for U-bolts to continue this. Now I move down to the spring buckets. I got everything measured out to spec from the Super Duty, and from here to there. And now I got to drill my holes, make a spacer block, and space this out 2 inches away from the frame so I can match the width of the axle. Alright, I got everything mocked up on these buckets, kind of where I want them. All the holes are drilled out. Got it bolted on. Welded another piece to it to extend to the frame. Now I gotta take it off and do like I did to the other side. So I box it off. On the inside, I welded pipe spacers for every hole, so it doesn't collapse the pipe when I tighten it up. And I'll weld this one on and repeat to this side, and they should be done.